You're sick?
I have a question. So yeah, if you want to move away. I don't blame you. I apologize. I was fighting it yesterday at council and today I was just.
All right. Well, let's see, a forum. We'll call this June 4 meeting of Employment Action Subcommittee order. Can you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Okrepke is absent, Councilmember Van Willis, and Chair Fleming.
Here, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, let the record reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Okrepke.
Wonderful, thank you. We'll skip item 2 as we have no remote participation. Item 3, approval of the minutes. Before accepting the minutes, we'll take public comment. Is there anybody wishing to make public comment on meetings? Mr. DeWitt.
Yes, it would be nice. Oh, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. It'd be nice if you'd have the minutes available for us to look at because some people from the community have been coming to make very pertinent comments. And it would be nice if other members of the community get a chance to see that. I know it seems unusual to actually make the minutes available, but it could be a start of a new phase of government. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, have we any other comments? All right, seeing none, are there any amendments to the minutes, Ms. Benuelos?
No.
All right, we'll adopt those as submitted. Moving on to item 4, non-agenda matters. Do we have any public comment on items not in our agenda?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland and I've spent the last 3 decades trying to do something to help the climate. It's difficult because one of the things that occurs is you're often up against an obstacle of a bureaucratic monolith, if you will. Over in the area where I'm from, we still have a bit of nature left. It hasn't been destroyed for development. We're trying to do our best to keep as many of the natural features in the area, especially trees, riparian corridors, things that could be helpful for climate adaptations, if you will. And one of the things that has come up amongst our discussions there amongst, I guess, there's still a core group of about 10 people who've been involved for about at least 25 years. And we talk about how it's difficult to get a groundswell of support from elected officials, if you will, because they come and they go, they see what we're doing, they say, well, yeah, maybe that's nice, but they got other plans. And we basically want to do our best to keep as many trees as possible. That might seem unusual to you, but trees, please. Keep trees. It's such a simple way to try to perhaps reduce greenhouse gases because trees do some carbon sequestration. And for whatever reason, more trees are being cut down in the city than are being planted. You can see it over here on 5th Street. You can see it over on Morgan. You can see it in various places. And what we're hoping is that you folks in this small committee could be the ones that would be the impetus to make the various departments understand that that's what you want to actually occur. Save trees, please. And actually have it be kind of a mindset so that when they come forward to do a project, they look at it like, how can we save the trees there when we do it? Rather than, oh, we got to get rid of the tree and we'll do our project. And this is especially important over in Roseland because we're getting lots more housing built there. And you say, okay, we'll plant some trees. Well, those take 20, 30, or 40 years to grow back. If you've got a tree that's already there and you save it, you've actually saved yourself some money in that whole effort. You don't have to cut it down. So I'll leave you with this thought. The Stony Point Road upgrade and reconfiguration that went on for a number of years, over a decade ago, specifically pointed out they put in street trees that they would be there as a way to cut pollution along that road. They put in, along with those trees, something called tree gators, which are where you're putting water into these plastic bags around the trees.
Got about 10 seconds, Mr. Glick.
You know, they never put any water in the gators that they bought. They spent thousands of dollars on them and didn't water a single tree in over a decade.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? All righty then. We'll move on to department reports.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Fleming. Just one brief staffing announcement. Alicia Quilici from the Water Department has promoted into the Energy and Sustainability Coordinator for our city. Alicia, for the past few years, has been a research and program coordinator in the Water Department, organizing the Earth Day event on behalf of the city, as well as coordinating various other initiatives around sustainability, like the hydration station and the Take It From the Tap program. It's a very well-deserved promotion, and I will start to integrate her more into this committee and a leadership role. So just want to make
Congratulations. All right, any other staff report? All right, we'll take public comment on that.
What's the official
We'll take
name of the
official,
job?
hold on, no. If you want to make public comment, you make public comment, but we're not gonna do.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland.
On timer,
Yeah.
please, thank you.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. Wasn't able to hear completely what you had just said. Could you please say once again the complete title of what this person's now going to be doing that's been promoted? And spell that last name for us also, because it's not in the agenda to know who this person is.
like me to do that. Okay. Alicia Quilici.
Can you spell that last name?
Quilici.
Quilici. Nice.
And she's promoted into a position that's been vacant since last August, which was previously the Energy and Sustainability Coordinator that oversaw this committee.
Energy and
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Sustainability Coordinator.
All right, item number 6, new business.
Okay, item number 6.1 is an update on the Community Climate Action Plan and Municipal Climate Action Plan implementation. This is our only item for the day, but it is timely given that we have just adopted the greenhouse gas reduction strategy yesterday at your council meeting. So we're providing an update on some of those plans and where we're going in the future. Suppose I need to share the screen, huh?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the basic parts of this item today will be a status update on the community-wide climate action plan and municipal climate action plan, the implementation of those as well. And then with me to my left is Nancy Waltering, Senior Planner with Planning and Economic Development. She will provide a little bit of a presentation on sort of our transition for the community-wide climate action plan to the new greenhouse gas reduction strategy. And then I also have Amy Nicholson, Supervising Planner from Planning and Economic Development, that will talk about how we'll implement that GHG reduction strategy. And of course, we'll move on to any questions that this committee may have. So in terms of just wanted to capture a timeline of climate action for the council and Santa Rosa. Pretty much from 2000 to the present, the council has passed various resolutions committing to actionable items and setting community-wide and city operational targets for greenhouse gas reductions. And just to note, those milestone timelines of 2010 and 2020, we did achieve the targets that were set by the council. And in 2012 and 2013, the council did adopt both a community and a municipal climate action plan. Those are colloquially called the CCAP and MCAP. And then in 2020, the council adopted a climate emergency resolution, just really hammering the urgency around the climate change issues going on nationwide and all over the world, and our commitment to taking action. From 2023 to the present, the council has incorporated council goals to address climate change. And in several instances throughout the time since 2000, the city has done greenhouse gas inventories to track metrics related to greenhouse gas reductions. And then, of course, yesterday, the greenhouse gas reduction strategy was adopted as part of the general plan update for 2015. The climate action plans, just to note, they opted 2 climate action plans. The 2012 community-wide climate action plan is really just addressing citywide climate-related greenhouse gas reductions. And the municipal climate action plan is primarily focused, or should I say solely focused, on city facilities and city operations. And really these caps include a baseline greenhouse gas reduction inventory and a menu of a variety of implementation measures to reduce greenhouse gas reductions over time. So I'll just start. I wanted to talk a little bit about the CCAP and what's in it, what we've accomplished, and highlight some of the more immediate measures that were accomplished in 2024, just so we get some successes out. The CCAP, of course, addresses community-wide greenhouse gases and establishes those baselines and targets. There were a variety of greenhouse gas goals, actions, and measures. The measures are basically categorized into these areas of energy efficiency, renewable energy use, land use, alternative transportation, optimizing vehicle travel, solid waste diversion, water and wastewater efficiency, focus on our local food systems, and off-road emissions, those being from construction, landscape, maintenance and things like that. So a lot of work has been done. This is not by any means comprehensive, but I do want to highlight some of those measures that were big wins for the city. And some of those are just really adopting a variety of new standards for energy efficiency and development, requiring that new developments both provide public and private trees, instituting a tree preservation ordinance, and really focusing on working with our partners in the community for rebate programs to incentivize different energy efficiency measures. We also partnered with the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program to provide financing for solar for folks that want to put that in their homes and businesses. Of course, since those plans were adopted, Sonoma Clean Power came to exist, so as well. And really just, there were a lot of opportunities in planning to remove any barriers for folks to implement energy efficiency systems, or excuse me, renewable energy systems. And then, of course, just in terms of land use management and parking, the city has shifted from preserving the urban growth boundary and promoting infill opportunities and the way that we, pursue new development, implementing a variety of specific plans to that effect, supporting higher density mixed use housing, and then, just really focusing on residential permit parking, on-street parking pricing, and unbundling of parking and residential developments to promote less congestion as well. The city has really been a model in terms of the region for improving different transit options, doing the best we can to update bicycle parking regulations, implementing a variety of efficiencies to ensure that our transit systems are available and accessible by all, as well as free or low-cost ridership options that have become available the last few years for school-age children, coordinating with the smart trains to better create a nexus, and of course, multiple bike and pedestrian improvements and eventually implementation of the active transportation master plan. Again, continuing to optimize vehicular travel where opportunities present themselves, facilitating EV charging stations, implementing state idling rules, and really trying to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from vehicular travel in our community. And then, of course, just working with Zero Waste Sonoma to encourage composting and waste diversion. Many of those things are required now by law, but that includes the adoption and implementation by this council of the Zero Waste Foodware Ordinance and hosting a variety of events to try to reduce waste diversion, or sorry, to institute waste diversion. In terms of water and wastewater projects, we've seen a large investment in reducing potable water for new development. New developments have to be very water efficient. We've expanded various opportunities for residences and businesses to find ways to save water, including implementing automated metering infrastructure, and customers can track their use more regularly. We continue to try to do everything we can to maximize recycled water deliveries to the geysers where it's utilized for 100% renewable energy generation and offsetting agricultural water use as well. And then, of course, wherever we can, just encouraging the replacement of high water use landscapes and turf as well. And then, of course, trying to focus on local farms, the purchase of agricultural products from local sources. And that includes establishing community gardens, urban farms, revising zoning codes to allow people to have small farm animals like chickens and bees. And then, of course, trying to do everything we can to get folks to reduce the fuel consumption and energy and greenhouse gas use associated with off-road services, leaf blowers, things like that, and construction equipment emissions by applying specific measures for those particular projects as well. Some of the highlights for this year, you might have seen several bicycle infrastructure improvements that were incorporated as part of pavement rehab projects. There was the launch of the Redwood Bike Share program. We continue to partner with the Bicycle Coalition for bike safety training, finding safe routes to school. One of the big successes is the transit mall rehabilitation and making things more accessible and improving pedestrian safety. And then again, just continuing that Youth Unlimited Rides program that was approved by the council. We've also instituted a program to directly install free toilets that are ultra high efficient in folks' residences and businesses, installing more than 1,500 packages over the last year. And then, of course, a great success is 206 market rate units and 131 affordable units became available downtown, promoting infill where available. And then switching over to the MCAP, or Municipal Climate Action Plan. This was adopted in 2013. So again, over a decade of implementation at this point. Areas of focus are wastewater, fleet, building and facilities, employee commutes, public lighting, water operations, and waste diversion. Again, this is solely focused on cities' operations, where we can make changes with the way we do things in our own facilities. The Laguna Treatment Plant is the largest energy consumer in Sonoma County. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there have been multiple improvements to find energy efficiencies at that wastewater plant, including the implementation of cogeneration facilities that make use of gas on site to power the plant. Optimizing high-strength waste facilities to be able to receive more high-strength waste. If wineries, breweries, different septic receiving folks, if they didn't have this facility, they'd have to truck it much further on outside the region, of course, increasing vehicle miles traveled. Partner again with rebate programs for residents and businesses for different appliances and replacements. And then again, just replacing pump motors with more high efficiency ones when they've failed. So we try to get the best, most efficient replacements when there's time to replace them. And I can't understate the importance of switching over to Sonoma Clean Power's Evergreen portfolio, which is 100% renewable portfolio. So our own water and wastewater operations are using that clean energy source. And then, of course, our fleet, we continue to make substantial investment in clean transit, switching over from, clean diesel now to electric buses. And again, just doing everything we can to start to make that the cornerstone of our green transit focus. In terms of all the hundreds of city building and facilities, a cogeneration system was installed at the Finley Swim Center. And a high efficiency boiler was at the Ridgeway Center as well was installed. Continue to purchase clean energy from Sonoma Clean Power at all city facilities. That transition happened about 5 years ago. And then again, they're just continuing to invest in various investigation, implementation of on-site renewable energy options where it makes sense. So, solar panels and different things have been installed over the years. The employee commute has changed over time. We continue to operate various alternative work schedules, including 9-8-80 schedule where appropriate, so that folks don't have to come into the office 5 days a week. And now continuing to institute a policy to allow staff to telework where appropriate, so they're not driving in to the office. And then public lighting, the continual retrofit of public lighting is substantially complete. Moving on now to primarily LEDs, and that has been a huge investment. And again, using clean energy to power all the street lighting around the city as well. And the city continues to do everything we can to promote waste diversion at all of our facilities, including public hosted events, implementing zero waste measures. And we have a city purchasing policy for trying to find materials that have largely recycled content as well. And again, just over the last year, I just want to use this opportunity to highlight some of the successes. We added 7 new electric vehicles into our fleet this year. This committee has heard about the EV infrastructure master plan, which provides a roadmap to find a zero emission fleet by 2040. The city has also adopted some new studies for investigating renewable generation and other efficiency measures. Took advantage of Sonoma Clean Power's incentive program to install all electric heat pump water heaters at 19 different sites and different city facilities. Sam Jones Hall, various fire stations, and other even down here at City Hall as well. And again, we do continue to implement various projects on the water and wastewater side that will continue to reduce the energy intensity of that activity as well. So that concludes my portion of the presentation, and I will hand it over to Nancy Waltering for the next speech.
Thank you very much, Peter. Chair Fleming and Councilmember Banuelos, as you know from your participation last night, and as Peter has mentioned, the city adopted the greenhouse gas reduction strategy as part of the general plan. And what this means is we will be transitioning to implementing that plan. The city has been a climate leader, really implementing a number of these programs since 2012. And as part of that process, and in addition to the state adopting the vehicle standards, the city has reduced its greenhouse gases by 29% below 1990 levels at this point. Now, with new targets required by the California Climate Crisis Act of 2022, the state mandates are to reduce greenhouse gases by 40% by 2030 and by 85% by 2045, and to achieve carbon neutrality on this timeline. And carbon neutrality, as you know, refers to the balancing of emissions so that emissions from all sectors identified in the greenhouse gas are less than or equal to the emissions that are being sequestered. And there are a number of ways. There's been some mention of sequestration earlier tonight. This can occur through programs such as tree planting and agricultural practices that enhance landscape or an ecosystem's ability to store carbon. Achieving carbon neutrality requires both significantly reducing community greenhouse gas emissions and supporting ecosystems that sequester carbon. The greenhouse gas reduction strategy that was approved last night establishes the path to meeting these mandates. It was included as part of the general plan. And very interestingly, it's really woven into the goals, policies, and actions of the general plan so that as those actions are carried out, it will support the city in reducing its greenhouse gases. The baseline year for the greenhouse gas reduction strategy was 2019 because it was considered more representative than the pandemic or subsequent years. And that's also the baseline for the general plan for that consistency. It replaces the CAP, the Climate Action Plan, the community-wide Climate Action Plan, and incorporates some measures, but does not fully replace the municipal Climate Action Plan. The greenhouse gas reduction strategy is broken down into 5 key objectives. And the first 2, I want you to really look at. This is decreasing community-wide vehicle miles traveled and using zero emission vehicles and reducing community-wide energy use. Together, these account for 93% of the city's greenhouse gases. So as we move forward as a city, it really should be, these 2 should be the focus of implementation because there's so many, so many emissions associated just with these 2 objectives. And each one in the greenhouse gas reduction strategy is broken down into measures. Overall, there are a total of 17 measures. I'll mention just a couple of them that are relating to reducing vehicle miles traveled, to locate and design development to minimize vehicle dependence, to improve the frequency, coverage, and effectiveness of local and regional transit. Peter has mentioned some of those efforts already. And then for reducing community-wide energy use, for an example, reducing community-wide energy use, increasing energy efficiency and advancing electrification in existing buildings, including municipal buildings. So it's basically carrying on what the MCAP was working on. And then transitioning to carbon neutral buildings. There are some lawsuits out there that affect exactly what we can do, but there's a tendency to move in that direction. Each one of these measures in the greenhouse gas reduction strategy is broken down into these categories that you can see here: narrative text, projected emission savings, implementing programs, the general plan policies that support them, measures of performance, applicability, timeline, the lead in supporting departments and the ways in which the city will be working with supporting partners, and expected funding sources. And so all of these provide ways to track, as a city, how are we doing with implementation of all these various measures? And so I will transition to Amy, who will be talking about moving forward with implementing the greenhouse gas reduction strategy from this point forward.
Thank you, Nancy, and good afternoon, Chair Fleming and Councilmember Banuelos and members of the public. I'm just going to spend a few moments talking about how we'll implement the newly adopted greenhouse gas reduction strategy. One way that this strategy will be implemented is through the work of city staff. The really starting point is for us to develop a means to track each of the different measures and programs. As Nancy mentioned, these measures are described in the reduction strategy, and there are programs within them that would be handled by various different departments within the city. So the first step is knowing what all of those programs are and which staff members would be responsible for completing those. This also helps to ensure that as an organization, we are coordinating effectively, and it helps departments to establish work plans for the short and long term. And then we will continue to report out to various different review authorities, including the subcommittee and the council as appropriate. Implementation will also occur through new development. Many of the projects that go through the planning review process are subject to the California Environmental Quality Act. The only exceptions are when there's a state mandated process where those projects are CEQA exempt. So in these cases where we might be reviewing a new hotel or a subdivision, applicants need to demonstrate how they are meeting the requirements of the greenhouse gas reduction strategy, and they do that in the form of a checklist. That checklist is then verified through the staff review process as the project moves through the process and onto construction. There's another way that the strategy is implemented through new development for projects that are not subject to CEQA, and that's just through review of the general plan, policies and actions, as Nancy mentioned. Many of these reduction measures are actually integrated into other sections of the general plan. Then finally, we want to be sure to share this information with the public. And so as a team, we've been coordinating as to how we might effectively display this information. We are working toward a city webpage, which would include not only the city's inventory data, so we would show the most current data as well as previous years to show trends and progress, but also progress toward each of the implementation measures that are outlined in the reduction strategy. In some cases, it might be that the project hasn't started or that it's ongoing or completed, but we want to share as much information as available with members of the public and have it in a easy to read format. We will also indicate how new development is moving forward. And so this will be kind of an ongoing process, but as we develop different tracking mechanisms, we'll want to show projects and how they are utilizing solar or more water efficient technologies. And I think that is my last slide. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Before we go to public comment, Councilmember Van Willis, do you have any questions?
I wondered, back when you were presenting, you talked about tree preservation and ordinance for tree preservation. And I just wonder, it was back on page 6, I think. Can you tell me what's in that ordinance?
Yeah, I think actually the planning and building folks probably have a better feel for that question than I do, but you know, I mean, there are quite a few.
Oh, okay. I mean, not word for word, but just generally
Sure.
what's in there.
So the city has a tree preservation ordinance. It requires approvals for different types of tree removals. And so there are kind of various categories depending on what the property is designated as. So single family properties go through a different process than most other properties. Essentially, most trees on commercial or multifamily properties do require a tree removal permit in order to remove the tree. The city, as a part of that process, if the tree is removed, there's a requirement to mitigate that tree or replace that tree on site in many cases where it's feasible, because we want to encourage all the benefits of trees. And then in cases where a tree planting is not feasible, there's a fee that is paid, and then that goes into a city fund where trees are planted elsewhere. And so that's one process. And then also, just generally speaking, if there's a new development project, sometimes tree removals are a part of that. And there's kind of different requirements in effect for new development compared to developed properties. So that ordinance was actually adopted, I believe, in 1992. But we continue to implement it.
Okay. And has it been changed or updated or amended? Since then?
My recollection is that it has not been amended since 1992. And actually, that may be the date of the last time it was amended. I'm not sure when it was originally adopted.
Wow. Okay, thank you. And then I was curious, over on page 8, you mentioned, I guess, zoning changes for chickens and bees. I get a lot of questions from the public about both chickens and bees. And I know this is just about zoning, but I guess, oh, again, if you could tell me and what, where the zoning changes took place, just generally, I know you, I don't expect you to know everything by heart, but.
Yeah. I know there's been changes to city codes to allow people to have, some backyard animals over time and that was directly related to, I think a desire from the public, but I don't know where those are housed particularly, but yeah, there has been, updates to it over time.
Sure, and we do have Jessica Jones from planning on Zoom, and she has offered to respond to that question.
Yes, I'm not sure if you guys can see me, but good afternoon. And Jessica Jones, Deputy Director of Planning. So yeah, I will clarify that the code does provide for regulations to allow certain types of animals on residential properties throughout the city. We have a policy that allows chickens that was adopted maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I can't exactly recall, but with regard to bees, yes, there's been a lot of discussion about bees in the last couple of months.
Mhm.
After a thorough review and analysis of our code actually does not allow for beekeeping within the city. And so that is something I've been talking directly with the Beekeeping Association about. So they are aware of the city's current regulations. And so it would take a direction from the council to go into the code to amend it to allow beekeeping within the city.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. That's good to know, because that's been a lot of questions about that. Last thing I wanted to talk about the zero waste. So I met with Recology recently and they wanted to know what kind of feedback I was getting from my district. But one of the things that I've mentioned to them many times, even long before I was elected, actually before they even got a contract with the city, I asked them about apartments. I'm a renter and we can't compost, even though it's the law, and it's like, and so what they had said to me, they assured me back in whatever it was, 2016, 2014, whenever it was, oh, we're going to go in and do all this education and nothing happened. And, homeowners get some, I know that's not that you all go, not you all, but they don't go into everybody's homeowner and say, this is what you do. There's the pictures and everything, but they don't seem to be as effective as they could be. One of the things I said to them was, my particular building is run by a corporation and they kind of follow Santa Rosa law, but they're more interested in the company home in New York or wherever the heck it is. So there's that. But also, they'll send these emails out to everybody and they're all in English. And I mean, 80% of the people that are all Spanish speaking. So I'm like, really? And everyone is saying, you must do this and you must do, they're all in English. And so I'm just like, okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, like I said, there's no place to compost. And when they did bring a compost can out, people weren't composting properly. So they took it away and that was their, solution. So, sure, we want to get to zero waste, but what about all the people that live in apartments? And there are a lot of them. And we are building more and more, and they're not getting the same education, I feel, that the homeowners get. So I really feel that apartment dwellers and people that rent are discriminated against, actually, because they're not getting the benefits. So we can say we're making all this progress, but we're not if, so, half our residents live in apartments. So anyway, it's not that this is all of your problem, but I don't know what the answer to that is, but I think we're not going to get to zero waste as long as we're ignoring all the apartment dwellers and all the renters. So anyway, that's my soapbox for today.
Yeah, we do have a direct line of communication through our contracts with, our, I guess, waste haulers and folks. So we'll take that feedback and with the folks that are having those direct conversations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If I may, I can add too that we have some programs that directly address what you're talking about under Measure 10. So one is to require that new development and proposed renovations have sufficient and appropriate room to store the waste bins, including for organic waste. So I know that's a big thing that comes up because in the design, it wasn't always considered to have the big compost bin.
Mhm.
And then another is continuing public education. Composting is one example that's listed. And so, you know, with the tracking that we're talking about, this will stay on the radar too, amongst the other items.
Thank you. No, that was it. That was it.
Okay. All right, well, wow,
For now.
that's a tough act to follow, because that seems like a huge opportunity. I was just curious to know, this seems like this is a reflection of a state mandate, correct? How does the state track our progress and how do we feed them data?
We will be tracking it on our own and then every couple of years, the county does inventories of our emissions. And so presumably exactly what that link is, I don't know, but I think that's,
So the county is the measurer of success?
actually it's, what's the
Of the
regional power?
the emissions themselves are compost. I just want to make sure.
Well, there's a whole lot here,
Sure.
right? So, you know, I mean, I would be surprised if the county was tracking all of it, but I'm just curious to know how we are measuring our progress. really.
There's a really good dashboard that the Regional Climate Protection Authority has developed.
Okay.
And so that really shows the emissions. And then we would keep our own, tracking of how we are reducing emissions, and hopefully they correlate. I mean, that will be the challenge, to see how our work is feeding into the reductions that that are being tracked by Sonoma Clean Power and by others.
Well, it's pretty exciting work. I think that there's a lot of energy around a few things in particular around trees and bees. And the low hanging fruit, which is the chopped up apple core on your counter. So with that, we will turn to our wonderful attendees and see if we have any public comments. I'll turn it over to the assistant clerk or recording secretary. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Would anybody like to make public comment on this item?
I would like to, if these folks don't want to. Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland, and thank you for all your hard work, all of you that are doing everything on this, and especially to the council members. Councilmember Banuelos's comments are particularly relevant to where I live. And I want to point out, it's a really good idea to have more housing built downtown. And that where I'm from, Roseland, part of it's considered downtown now because of the downtown specific plan. So I think it's important that you get more housing built over there in that area and that you do it in such a way that it is reducing greenhouse gases. Vehicle miles traveled. Did you know that there's more traffic now than ever before over in Roseland in the Southwest? And that most of those folks are driving single occupant vehicles. And many of them are young people who are buying nice big trucks. Those ones that got the big hoods right up around this side of my face. It's amazing how big those trucks are, and they're just eating up the gas. And you know what? Those folks don't care. So we need to have some sort of a public information campaign in Spanish also. This is really important so that those folks, especially contractors and others, are looking at this in the same way that you folks are. They don't see any of this. As a matter of fact, folks in my neighborhood, they don't even know that we have a 2012 plan and a 2013 plan. I'm glad the municipal plan is doing so well. This is a wonderful thing that you're doing. What's really important is you put everything that you got in Spanish also. They're going to spend millions and millions of dollars to build a new library out there. And many of the folks who'll go there could read that stuff in Spanish. And the one that exists now, I couldn't even find the general plan draft that was adopted yesterday. They had put it off to the side, and every time I'd bring it out and research it and leave it out, they'd slide it back under somewhere where you couldn't see it. And it wasn't in Spanish. And yet most of the customers over there are Spanish speaking and don't read English that much. So we're in a dilemma here. We're in a divided society, if you will, in Santa Rosa. And you folks are doing your best. I'm doing my best. Most of the folks I know are trying to help as best they can. But you've got a whole group of people that live here that don't know anything about what you're working on. And unless you inform them, they're not going to be a part of what you're trying to do. So you could really help yourself by getting them to be a part of what you got going on. And then last but not least, all the city-owned lots that are up for sale right now. Why don't you make them available for housing as soon as possible and do it in such a way that the city's involved?
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeWitt.
Thank you kindly for your time. I know that's the most important of all.
All right. Anyone else? Yes. I know your name.
Yeah, do I have to stand?
You don't have to stand.
Okay, Jerry Bender here in Santa Rosa. And I've attended these in the past, and I'll repeat what I said last time. I applaud you for all that you're doing. If you feel strongly about our climate, you will see that you're doing a valuable thing for all of us. And the one thing I would say about, I would help you on your, and I would support Dwayne on public education, might be the newsletter as well as the website, because I think, I really read every newsletter, and I don't know how, if you've ever, what's the word, taken a survey on what your newsletter, how many readers you get, but I think it's a prized little addition, and it has been over the years, getting better and better and better. So that would be, and not only, you said simplified, I would agree, simplified for the average reader, but really applaud the successes that we're making, so that people feel more that we're making progress on this issue. And you should be very proud of all the things that you're accomplishing, and people should be able to not only read that, share it with their friends, but even larger audience knows how much we're doing and the successes we're making. So it would help Santa Rosa's image in this whole process. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to dovetail on what he said. I think public engagement is really an important piece. And I know you talked about your website, but I'd also look at collaborating with our local newspapers and radio stations, both English and Spanish, and do PSAs. And just maybe once a week, do a short blurb on a climate action success. So if most people like me, I'm not going to go to the website. There's too many websites out there. And you put a lot of energy and money into that, but I think expanding our engagement would really be beneficial. So that's one thing. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Mike LaPelt. I'm a resident in Santa Rosa. And I'm a volunteer for a local group called Relief. And back to the issue around trees and tree planting. The street tree list, we've been planting a lot of street trees. The street tree list is over 20 years old. It needs to be updated. Climate has really changed. And the more important thing is survival of the trees that are planted. And it's really difficult with the size of the tree wells with current sidewalk design. They're 2 by 4 feet. Water can't percolate into the trees for survival, hence they start raising up sidewalks, looking for moisture. So in some of our plantings, we've actually, with the support of the homeowner, widened the tree wells for them. So we get successes in what we planned. So we're a nonprofit. We'd like to do more collaboration with the city because I know you're strapped with your budget. And we offer to dovetail and support a lot of that tree planting for virtually no cost. And I just read today that PG&E is offering $100,000 grant for that very thing in different areas of the county. So I just wanted to, again, thank you for what you're doing, but there's always ways to expand things that don't cost much money. And that's what I'm really here to support.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no more members of the public. We'll bring, we got 100% participation. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen
There you
before.
go.
Bravo. All right, we'll bring it back to the subcommittee. Councilmember Banuelos, do you have any further comments?
Just, thank you so much for all your work. I mean, this is wonderful. It really is. I just feel like the public does that we have some work to do in reaching the entire community. And I know you all want to do that, and that's even more work, and I understand that. And as it was pointed out, I know you're short-staffed, and I totally understand that. So I know you can't do everything. So if there are ways, myself, I'll just offer myself, I can't speak for the council, that we can work together. Let me know, and I'm happy to help because it's a challenge. It is a challenge. During Cinco de Mayo, we always offer recycling, and then nobody uses it properly, and then we just and Recology has always helped us with that. So just a lot of education needs to be done, and as I said, I think with apartment buildings, I think it's basically being ignored, and that's not a good thing because that's a lot of folks, and it's going to be even more folks as we continue to build more apartments. So,
Thank you. The thing that I took away from this is kind of, it's a microcosm of the climate crisis that we're in on a more organized municipal level. And it's just so big. Your plan is so big and the amount of steps are so numerous. And I find it really overwhelming. And I'm not the one who has to do it. So congratulations on your promotion.
Yeah, you get to do it.
They're like,
What I would just say is this, is that you have our support and our gratitude for all of your work and just, do take the wins where you can get them with our community. This is probably the thing that I hear about roads and I hear about climate, which is hilarious because they're related in kind of diametrical ways. But I mean, but the roads can be a climate support when we use them properly. But do take the wins, do take the partnership. There's a lot of good people out there who want to do good work, and you guys are doing good work. And I know it's challenging to hear that people want communication about it because I don't know about you, but when I'm in the work, I just want to do the work. It's challenging, but to communicate while you're doing the work. But I think that as we go along, I think the next era of government is going to be more partnerships with the community. And I highly encourage you to take up the community on those offers where appropriate. So thank you for your work on this and welcome to the position. All right, we will move on to future items, agenda items.
Thank you, Councilmember Fleming. The next meeting of the Climate Action Subcommittee is scheduled for November 5th. At that meeting, we already have confirmed BayREN, the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, to come and talk about the multitude of programs that they offer to residents and businesses. It's always evolving. And then we also have setting, of course, the schedule for the next year. But we'll look for other topics too for that.
Yeah, and if needed, we can meet before then. And, for the listening public, next year, our calendar will be regularized onto quarterly meetings. We're in a bit of a transition period. So we'll go to public comment on this item.
Yes, please. Dwayne DeWitt from Roseland for that next meeting. Please give us an update on the trees. You've heard comments from us, not just this meeting, but many previous meetings. There's another woman who's moved into the area of Burbank Gardens over here, and she's been doing an effort. She's with this Santa Rosa Relief Group that took over from Miss Bender's former group. So let's get some news to use. Once again, sing those successes, and then we can take them out there and get that information to other people. Sebastopol Road within the city's downtown specific plan area is an excellent spot where you get more street trees in, you get more funding from the different grant makers that are still giving out this money, such as the PG&E people. The housing that's just been built along West Third Street. It's called the Cannery, took 20 years to get it up. It's up. That area there could be an excellent spot for trees and getting more things in along the lines of what you're doing. Once again, always appreciating all the work you're doing. Come and tell us your successes each and every time so we can go out and spread the word. And I'm learning my Spanish better so I can spread it in Espanol. That's muy importante para la futura.
All right, thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Do we have any additional public comments on future agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to item 8, which is adjournment. We'll see you all in November. Thank you for your work.